Greetings, math fans. All right, so today's lesson is called power raised to a power. Okay, so it's basically if you have a number or a variable with a power on it, and then that is also raised to another power, that's what we're going to be talking about. So again, today is day 7, and it's I call it a power. We'll just put this little caret because you guys know what that means. A power raised to a power. Okay, so before we actually get started, I want to talk a little bit about the zero power because we really haven't talked about that. So zero power. If you have something like x to the 0, what is that value? Well, it actually is equal to 1. And you're like, what? Okay, because sometimes people say, well, x to the 0, you think it's equal to 0. But let's think of it this way. If I have x to the 5th over x to the 5th, do you guys agree that when you have division, we talked about this last lesson, you say 5 minus 5, right? So it's 5 minus 5. You subtract the exponents, so you really have x to the 0. And then I can also say, well, what happens when you have the same thing over itself? You know, 5 over 5 or 10 over 10. What do you get? That's equal to 1, isn't it? So isn't x to the 5th over x to the 5th 1? So that means x to the 0 is actually equal to 1. Okay, so anything to the 0 power is 1. Really, really, really important. It's not 0. Okay, it's not 0. That's what the most common thing that people do. All right, so let's do a quick example though too. If I did 2x to the 0 versus 2x to the 0 in parentheses, what is the difference between that? Well, do you guys agree this one, the whole thing is raised to the 0. So technically it's 2 to the 0 times x to the 0, right? Remember how you distribute that with the exponent? Okay. So 2 to the 0 we said is 1, and x to the 0 is 1, so the whole thing is 1. So here's the deal. That whole thing, if that's in parentheses, it's equal to 1. This is not equal to 1. What's the only thing touching the 0 power? It's just the x. Just the x is touching it. Okay, so basically this part right here is equal to 1, and there's nothing touching the 2. Nothing affects the 2, so it's 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, so you got to be careful. It's got parentheses. The whole thing is 0. So I can do something like, 3x to the 7th, y to the 6th, z to the 8,000th power. Crazy to the 0 power. What's that equal to? 1. Okay, so that's not too bad. Okay, so let's talk about now a power to a power. So here's the deal. X to the 4th raised to the 3rd power. Well, do you guys agree, back in the day when I taught you guys, let's say x cubed, remember how I said it's equal to x times x times x, right? Because it's 3 of those. X times x times x is x cubed, as opposed to x, that's 3x. Don't get those confused, right? There's addition here, and here it's multiplication, okay, to give you the x cubed. All right, so let me erase this part here. So keep erasing this guy right here. Do you guys agree I could write this? X to the 4th cubed is writing x to the 4th 3 times. Right? That's x. That's this cubed. So here it is. This times this times this. Okay? So, and remember when you multiply, what do you do with the exponents? You add them together. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. So that's x to the 12th. So of course, what's an easier way to look at this problem? Okay, let's get rid of this little box here. The easier way to look at this problem is to say, oh, it's x to the 4th cubed. What can I do with this guy right here? I multiply them to give me 12. So that's multiplication. Okay? Really not too difficult. So here's the rule. The rule for this, math fans, is when you have a power raised to a power, you multiply exponents. Okay? Very important. You multiply the exponents. All right, so let's try that with just a number. So if I said 2 cubed raised to the 4th power. Well, that's 2 to the 12th power. Now again, you don't leave it like that. Remember I told you lots of times, do not leave numbers with exponents. Okay, I'm going to write this in here again. No numbers with exponents. All right, so you're basically typing in your calculator 2 to the 12th power, which gives you 4,096. Okay, that's your answer. It's pretty easy. Okay, so let's do another example here. If I said 2 to the negative 3rd power squared. Well, remember, it's a power is a power, so we take that, we multiply it together. So it's really 2 to the negative 6th. So you really got 2 steps here, math fans. The first step is you write it as 1 over 2 to the 6th. Remember, you move to the other side of the fraction and make that exponent positive. And then you actually do 2 to the 6th power on in your calculator, which is 64. So the answer to this problem is 1 over 64. Okay, but remember, you type this in. Don't type in the whole fraction. So type this in your calculator. Okay? All right, cool. So let's do kind of a little crazier one that's got a few more things to it. If I said 2x to the 10th, y to the negative 6th, z cubed to the 4th power. Okay, so it's all the same stuff. We're doing the 2 to the 4th, so write out 2 to the 4th power, and what's x to the 10th to the 4th power? Remember, it's a power to a power. What do I do? You multiply. So x to the 40th, y to the negative 6 times 4, negative 24, and z to the 12th, 3 times 4. Okay, that's not bad, right? And what are you going to do? First of all, I got to simplify this, and I got to move that to the other side of the fraction. So let's do that. It's going to be 2 to the 4th power is 16. X to the 40th stays there. Z to the 12th stays there. And the y to the negative 24th goes to the bottom. And that's your answer. Okay. Not bad, right? Okay, let's keep going here. I got a few more examples to do with you guys. Not really too much crazier, but just same idea. So it's 3x to the negative 8th, y to the 4th, z to the negative 2, raised to the negative 2 power. Okay, let's distribute that negative 2 raised to the power. So it's 3 to the negative 2. X to the negative 8 times negative 2 is 16. Y to the 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And z to the negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. There we go. So I'm going to move the stuff with negative exponents to the bottom of the fraction and keep everything else on top. So x to the 16th stays on top. Z to the 4th stays on top. That 3 squared goes to the bottom. So I'm going to write 3 squared, and then y to the 8th goes in the bottom. And the only thing I have to do is do that 3 squared. So we're almost done. X to the 16th, z to the 4th, over 9, y to the 8th. And that's your answer. Okay? Not bad at all, math fans. Okay. I have a couple more to do with you guys. Two more. Let's see, one, get not really too much crazier. But here it is. 2x squared, y to the negative 3, over 3z to the 10th, and that is raised to the 3rd power. Okay, so let's go. It's going to be 2 cubed, x squared to the 3rd, so 2 times 3 is 6. Negative 3 times 3 is 9. Next so it's negative 9, so y to the negative 9. Over 3 to the 3rd power, z to the 30th power. 10 times 3. Okay, so we need to make our numbers no exponents, and we need to move negative exponents to their spot. So 2 cubed is 8. X to the 6th, that y to the 9th goes to the bottom. So 3 cubed, put it in your calculator, is 27. That y to the negative 9th comes down, so it's y to the 9th, and z to the 30th. And that is your answer. So they're really not bad, right? You just you gotta, just do your stuff here, math, right? Do the math, and you're good to go. Gotta follow the same procedure every single time, and you're good to go. Okay, last one, relatively short lesson here, is negative 3 x to the 4th y to the negative 3 over 4z to the 10th, and that's raised to the negative 2 power. Okay? All right. So let's write out. It's negative 3 to the negative 2 power. I put that in parentheses because it's got a negative there. I think it's important. Okay, x to the 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. Over 4 to the negative 2. 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. So z to the negative 20. Cool. All right, so let's move stuff around before I do anything, right? I'm going to say negative 3 to the negative, well, here, let me draw my line here first. On the bottom, you get a negative 3 squared, becomes positive, right? And what else? So we took care of this one. X to the negative 8th goes down, so this is x to the 8th. And that's it, right? And the rest of this stuff goes to the top. So it's 4 squared, y to the 6th, because that was positive already, and z to the 20th. Okay? And so we have 16, 4 squared is 16, y to the 6th, z to the 20th, over negative 3 squared. Again, be careful. If you type that in your calculator, that's great. Make sure you use the parentheses, because if you type in negative 3 like this squared, it's going to give you negative 9, and it's not. It's negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. Okay? So you get 9x to the 8th, and that's your answer. Okay? All right, I have one last problem I want to show you guys, and it's probably the most difficult of all the problems, but it's actually, again, if you follow all the rules, it is not that bad. Okay, so it's going to look crazy, you're going to want to cry, but it really isn't bad. All right, here we go. So it's negative 2x to the negative 6th, y to the 5th, z to the negative 8th, over 3x to the 7th, y to the 8th, z to the negative 2. And that's raised to the negative 3rd power. Okay, you really can't get any nastier than that. It's got x's and y's in the top and the bottom, and z's in the top and the bottom. It's got negative numbers, negative exponents, positive exponents. It's got a negative exponent on the outside. This is kind of as crazy as it gets. But again, if you follow all the same rules, you're going to get it right. Okay? So let's start distributing that negative 3. So it's really negative 2 to the negative 3 power. And then let's remember to start multiplying exponents. So x to the negative 6 times negative, so negative 6 times negative 3 is 18. So it's going to be x to the 18th. Okay, 18th. And then y to the 5th to the negative 3rd is y to the negative 15th. So because 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And z to the positive 20. Okay, and then underneath it's 3 to the negative 3rd power. X to the 7th to the negative 3rd power is x to 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24, so y to the negative 24. And negative 2 times negative 3 is z to the 6th. There we go. Okay, so let's start moving stuff around with negative exponents, so that, let me just draw a line here. You agree that the 3 is going to go up, so the 3 cubed is going to go on top. And you know what? As I use them, I'm going to cross them off here. So that's going to go on top. The x to the negative 21 is going to go on top, so that's x to the 21. The y to the negative 24, so it's y to the 24. That's going. The x to the 18th is staying, because that's positive. And the z to the 20th is staying. That's on top. Okay? So that's not too bad. And then on the bottom, we got that negative 2 to the negative 3rd, so it's basically negative 2 to the 3rd power. That's gone. Y to the negative 15th, so that becomes y to the 15th. That's gone. And z to the 6th is here. Okay? All right, and this should be z to the 24th. I don't know, I have 20 there. Okay, very good. All right, so let's keep going here. Now I'm gonna basically, this top part, I'm gonna look to see what I can combine. First of all, 3 cubed, put it in your calculator, it's 27. I can combine this x to the 21 and x to the 18th. That's x to the 39th power. Because remember, you're adding when you are multiplying like this. So that's out of there. And then y to the 24th and z to the 24th. Okay. And on the bottom, negative 2 cubed. Put it in your calculator. Make sure you put your parentheses in there. And it's negative 8 y to the 15th. Z to the 6th. So we're almost done. Now I just want to do battle. Okay, so let me write one more. It's my last answer here, 27. I'm going to put the negative on top because that's the thing to do. And there's nothing to battle with the x's, so this is just x to the 39. Okay, I'm going to battle the y. So I have this battle right here. So 24, the top wins by 9. 24 minus 15 is 9, so it's going to be y to the 9th. And then I'm going to have a battle here, and 24 minus 6 is 18. So z to the 18th power. And that's it. Again, it's not difficult. It's just you got to follow your procedure, and you're good to go. Okay, if you don't, if you kind of start doing goofy things, whatever, it's easy to make a mistake. Okay? All right, math fans. Hopefully you guys learned something, and practice, and you got to do your homework, though. Super important. All right, that's it. Have an outstanding day. Adios, math fans. Goodbye.